To Dublin.
Bienvenidas y bienvenidos a Dublín.
Willkommen in Dublin.
مرحبا بكم بدبلن.
Bienvenue à Dublin.
My friend Pascal Sens de Paris en France is a long-standing volunteer of IFLA, and Pascal speaks French. If you don't understand him, just listen. We will present, after he has spoken, a short version on the slides in English.
Nous voulons offrir un exemple de la diversité en pratique. Nous ne nous contentons pas de la proclamer, nous la vivons. L'IFLA dispose de 7 langues officielles et les maîtres de cérémonie ici présents vont la pratiquer aujourd'hui. Vous ne comprendrez peut-être pas leurs propos, ne vous inquiétez pas, écoutez simplement la musique de ces langues. Après chaque prise de parole, dans une langue, vous verrez apparaître une version courte sur une diapositive. OK. Et à présent, Saoirse de Puer de la Maynooth University, près de Dublin, chez Cohen, vous souhaite à son tour la bienvenue en irlandais.
An applause for her.
Díomh go léir a chairde agus 100,000 fáilte go baile achlia.
Apart from Saoirse de Puer, the Masters of Ceremony all are members of the Standing Committee of the Management and Library Association section. I will present them personally later, but for now, just give them an applause for their engagement. In this world, there are not only the 7 IFLA languages, there are many more. And we will now work together hard to make sure that all are heard and no one left behind. You don't think that is possible? Yes, then we try. I say hello, and now it's up on you. Yeah, you're a little bit tired. I think the Portuguese people, they are very kind and very calm, and also the librarians. Therefore, I want to have a louder hello. Hello. Not bad, not bad, but not sufficient. Because I missed Schweizerdeutsch, the Swiss German. I know there were 20 newcomers with us, and I want to hear also Schweizerdeutsch, a third time. Thank you very much for your personal welcome. I'm not halo. I'm not a saint. I have not a protection halo from the Formula 1 pilot. I'm just one of you. And my German name is Hallo. And I'm the delegate of the governing board. And now that is the end of my personal presentation, and we got really serious. Today, we see us the first time since 3 years on a World Library and Information Congress. It's a historical moment. And we are really happy to be in Dublin after postponing this Congress for 2 years. I'm proud to welcome the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Lord Mayor is the first citizen of Dublin and ranks second only to the President of Ireland in Dublin City. Please welcome to our World Library and Information Congress 2022, Caroline Conroy.
Thank you very much. Hello, hello. Because I got his name wrong the other night. It was Halo I was calling him. Delighted to be here among such a massive crowd of librarians, and I don't have to be quiet, which is great as well. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Dublin City, I am delighted to welcome IFLA and the World Library and Information Congress to Dublin. I am delighted to say that there are 2,000 delegates here today from 100 countries. A fantastic achievement in these difficult times. So well done, everyone, for joining us here in Dublin. As you know, the Congress takes place over 5 days with a full programme of presentations, meetings, tours, an exhibition, social events, and much more besides. There will be countless opportunities for delegates to network, discuss, and learn from each other on an international scale. And as I know, you will also have some time to enjoy our city and all it has to offer. Dublin is a vibrant cosmopolitan city and an ideal destination for a few days' break or even longer. There are lots of things to do in the city with outstanding museums, art galleries and other cultural institutions, all centrally located and available free of charge. As well as classic architecture, parks and open spaces, Temple Bar, the Guinness Storehouse, theatres, music venues, pubs, restaurants and coffee shops galore, and much more besides. The countryside and coastal villages are also close by and easily accessible, including Dun Laoghaire, location of the cultural evening tomorrow night. I know some of you have spent some time here already, and I hope that others will be able to spend a few days here after the Congress and take the time to explore some of our many fun and exciting things to do around our great city. I don't need to tell a room full of librarians that Dublin is a city with a great literary history, but the City Council does a huge amount to promote present-day writing through being a UNESCO City of Literature and through major initiatives like the International Literature Festival and the Dublin Literary Award. The Dublin Literary Award was founded by and is managed by our public library service and involves libraries from all over the world nominating books for the prize. It is a truly international prize which, like IFLA, depends on the global library community, which we in Dublin are so proud to be a part of. The Dublin Literary Award celebrates both writers and readers, and of course, readers are at the heart of our city's library service, under the leadership of City Librarian Mairead Owens. The libraries team provides free access to books and e-books, to digital learning and leisure, to online and real-life events through 21 library buildings and through digital platforms and engaging programming. We have a great public library service in the city and in the country as a whole, alongside world-class university libraries and a wide range of specialist libraries. It was that vibrant library sector that brought the World Library and Information Congress to Dublin, through the hard work and dedication of the Library Association of Ireland. I want to thank the Library Association and its National Committee in the persons of Presidents Cathal McCauley and the Chair of the National Committee, Philip Cohen, and all those involved in bringing this important Congress to our city. I also want to thank IFLA for making the decision to bring the Congress to Dublin. I extend a warm Dublin welcome, Céad Míle Fáilte, to the President of IFLA, Barbara Lison, the Delegate of the Governing Board, Hello, Locher, members of the Governing Board and senior staff, and all the delegates from Dublin, Ireland and around the world. Welcome to you all. Enjoy your Congress and most importantly, enjoy Dublin. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, for your kind address. It's now a great honor to announce the Irish National Committee of our Congress in Dublin. It has been working on the preparation of this Congress for many more years than usually. The pandemic led us to postponement of 2 years, a big challenge for the committee and also for IFLA headquarters. But let them report themselves. In the name of IFLA, I say thank you at that place to the whole team. It is represented by Cachal Macaulay, Marianne Higgins, and Philip Cohen. A round of applause for them and their team.
Ordmhéara a iarúchtráin agus a gcuoine úsle. Is mór an honor is an privilege dumsa mar uachtarán cumann leabhar na hÉireann agus mar cócathaoirleach ar an gcuiste náisiúnta fáilte chomh maidin go dtí an seirmnas oscailte seo den 7-8 teacht le chéile de códáil dóna leabharlanna agus faisnéise i mbailliacht lia príomhchathair na hÉireann. Lord Mayor, former President Robinson and distinguished guests, it is my honour and pleasure as President of the Library Association of Ireland and co-chair of the National Committee to welcome you this morning to the opening ceremony of the 87th World Library and Information Congress in Dublin, Ireland. I want to welcome my colleagues from the Library Buildings and Equipment section, who over the last 7 years have been such an important part of my IFLA journey. I also want to warmly welcome delegates who have travelled from abroad to be here today. This is always greatly appreciated, but all the more so this year, given the ongoing challenges and international travel currently entails. We have delegates here this morning from over 100 countries, and it fills my heart with joy and relief to see you here. Céad míle fáilte, 100,000 welcomes. I look forward to meeting as many of you as possible over the coming days. Finally, I want to say a very, very special welcome and thank you to delegates here from Ireland. Ireland is a small country, and the library community is a small one, but Philip, Marion and I, and indeed the National Committee as a whole, are so very grateful for all of your support we've received over the last 6 years that we've been on this journey, and we're delighted that you are here this morning to finally see the WLIC take place in Dublin. Gurv Míle Maithagaibh, thank you. Speaking about the journey, I'm now going to hand over to my co-chair Marion to tell you what a journey it has been. Marion.
I have said to Philip and Cahal on many occasions that we could write a book with many, many chapters describing our journey as we navigated our way towards hosting this Congress. Our journey started many years ago when an enthusiastic National Committee made our bid to host the Congress. This led to our absolute joy when we travelled to Athens, and Dublin was announced as the location for IFLA World Library and Information Congress 2020. Now we all know that Dublin 2020 was not to be. The National Committee, alongside IFLA, chartered choppy seas as we navigated through the challenges that COVID and most recently the impact of conflict in Europe would bring. There are many characteristics to being Irish, and hopefully as we warmly welcome you to our shores, you will get to know our land and us better. One of our many characteristics is that we can be very determined. We persevere. Some might call us stubborn. I prefer to use the word resilient. Despite all the challenges, the National Committee and IFLA have worked tirelessly to make sure that you will remember this Congress. The first opportunity in such a long time to physically network, catch up with friends and colleagues, enjoy the cultural experiences, our heritage, and welcoming Irish hospitality. You might even learn to say a cúpla focal as Gaeilge, which translated means a few words in Irish. Whilst this Congress was a long time in the making, we hope that you will agree that this final chapter was worth the wait. I will leave it to Philip, our resilient chair, to fill you in on what the future has in store this week.
Hello. As Carl and Marion have said, the National Committee is both relieved and delighted to welcome you all here today. The Congress programme is packed with more than 150 sessions and meetings and workshops, including 8 key sessions that are live streamed across the web, like this morning. Plus an extensive exhibition, 170 posters and visits to 30 libraries throughout the island of Ireland, north, south, east and west. In addition, we have early morning wellbeing activities, local Irish crafts and social events, so there will be plenty to do all day, every day. Dublin itself is easy to get around and well worth exploring, with many cultural institutions and entertainment venues all within walking distance of the CCD and your hotels. Our coastal villages are easily accessed too, including Dunleary, which, as you've just heard, is the location of the cultural evening tomorrow night. You'll find lots of useful information and advice about places to go and things to do on the Congress website, or ask a local, either here at the Convention Centre or elsewhere. There is widespread support for the IFLA Congress coming to Ireland, and there is a great buzz here in Dublin, keen to welcome so many visiting librarians. Make the most of the opportunities presented, meet new people, make new friends, enjoy the experience, and, most important of all, be sure to have some fun. Thank you.
Michael Afanasiev, it's correct now, from Moscow, will present by video the next element of our ceremony. To this Master of Ceremony, I have a personal remark. Please be aware that Russian language is not Russia, and live an IFLA value, respect.
Представляю Sin-Adair-Si, фольклорная ирландская группа из графства Голуэй. Adair-Si на ирландском означает «а вот и она». Их песни – это уникальное сочетание традиционных кельтских и ирландских инструментов и индивидуального стиля, воплощенного в разнообразных музыкальных жанрах. Встречайте Sin-Adair-Si.
Now I will not have the same problem to pronounce the name. It's a pleasure to introduce my colleague Ute Engeltenmeier from Germany.
Danke, hallo. Unsere amtierende IFLA-Präsidentin vorzustellen, ist fast so, als würde man Eulen nach Athen tragen. Athen. Vor 3 Jahren hat sie ihr Amt als President-elect angetreten und ist seit letztem Jahr unsere Präsidentin. Ihren ersten Kongress in Berlin 2003 erlebte sie als Ehrenamtliche in ihrem Heimatland Deutschland. Sie hat eine immense Erfahrung gewonnen durch verschiedene Ämter und ist seitdem der IFLA treu verbunden. Sie engagiert sich auch seit vielen Jahren in Deutschland und in europäischen Bibliotheksorganisationen. Aktuell arbeiten wir beide in Deutschland in unserem Dachverband zusammen und ich schätze ihr Engagement und ihre Umsetzungskraft für die Sache der Bibliotheken. Jetzt nochmal ein großer Applaus für Barbara Lison.
Wow, now I know who I am. Could still dancing, couldn't I? Well, Lord Mayor of Dublin, Caroline Conroy, former President of Ireland and Chair of the Elders, Miss Mary Robinson, members of the Irish National Committee and of the IFLA Governing Board, members and volunteers, our sponsors and supporters, our partners, ladies and gentlemen, all of you in the room here and all who are joining online, veterans of the IFLA conferences and first-timers who are joining this conference for the first time. For those who are veterans, it's good to be back. For those who are first-timers, it's good to be in. It has been 3 years since we left in person, 3 years of hardship and uncertainty, but also of courage, and we heard the word already, resilience. 3 years of isolation, frustration, but also of connections, sometimes not connectivity, and innovation. 3 years of loss and sadness, but also of reflection and even optimism about the future. For communities and for the libraries, library information professionals, and library associations that exist to serve them. Now, after 3 years, we can be together again in person. We can rekindle our friendships and form new friendships, share what we have experienced, what we have learned, and in turn, learn from the experiences of the others. Not just recharge our batteries, sometimes that's very necessary, but move up a gear, benefiting from the opportunity that the pandemic has given us, undoubtedly, to think hard about what really matters. To make a major step towards building a sustainable future, my theme as president, for communities, for our field, and for our federation. And what a place here in Dublin to do this. Back in early 2020, IFLA had to take the painful decision to cancel our Congress planned for Dublin, to put the brakes on the work being done by the Irish National Committee, formed by the Library Association of Ireland and working closely with Dublin City Council and others, and by the volunteers. A really painful decision, but a necessary one under that circumstance. Faced with this, it would have been possible to give up, to cut losses, to move on. But the team has persisted, resilient. They have showed extraordinary flexibility at a difficult time and agreed that the opportunity for the global library field to meet here in Dublin, to experience the warmth, the history of the city, the energy, and innovativeness of Ireland's library field, this was not something that should be lost. A courageous and visionary decision, and one for which I deeply thank the National Committee. To the City Council, the Library Association and of Ireland, the National Committee, the Convention Centre here involved, thank you for your decision to support us and to go with us. A decision that means that we are able to be here today, this week, benefiting from the hospitality, the history, the heart that Dublin, that Ireland offered us. It is thanks to this, to the possibility to come to Dublin, that we have been able to come back together. I'm aware that the pandemic is not over. So many friends, committed IFLA members, volunteers and supporters have not been able to travel, although I am happy that so many of you are here and also joining us online if they could not travel. But we are not out of the woods, that's right. Without discounting the challenges we will still face, it is time to move forwards to the basis of shared commitment to building a positive, sustainable future. We are, after all, just 5 years away from our federation's centenary. And so I hope that all of you here in person, joining us online, and in turn your colleagues, your networks, have the energy, the ambition to desire to contribute to building this. We are lucky within IFLA to have recently been joined by 2 great new colleagues on the IFLA Governing Board. Following our extraordinary elections this year, we have a new president-elect and a new treasurer. You will be hearing from Vicky MacDonald shortly as she takes on the crucial role of president-elect and so president of IFLA from 2023 to 2025. She brings a great combination of experience as State Librarian of Queensland, former president of the Australian Library and Information Association, and extensive service in IFLA's professional units, including as chair of our professional committee and in that position being a member of the governing board. Unfortunately, Vicky cannot be with us here today due to statutory obligations on her own library. But I'm very happy to share a welcome message with you from her. Do also come along to President's session tomorrow. There she will be also online at 1 p.m. in the auditorium. You can hear more from her. So now over to you, Vicky.
Dear friends and colleagues, I join IFLA President Barbara Lison and Governing Board colleagues in welcoming you to Dublin for the World Library and Information Congress 2022. I am sorry I am unable to join you, the first Congress I have missed in over 10 years. Unfortunately, with this year's Congress dates brought forward to July, it clashes with a compulsory commitment I have in Australia, one that I am required to attend to fulfil commitments to my employer and minister. The time it takes to travel between Dublin and Australia make it impossible to attend the Congress. This is a critical time in IFLA's work as the leading international body representing the interests of people who rely on libraries and information professionals. I am honoured to be elected as President-elect and acknowledge the trust that you have placed in me in the coming years. I also thank you for your many messages of support and best wishes. Even though I cannot join you in person, I assure you I am fully engaged in the work of IFLA and the Governing Board. From the date of my appointment on the 5th of July, I have participated in many discussions and I will attend the Governing Board meetings as an online participant during this Congress. I am committed to strong governance and transparency, and I will work with Barbara Lison and my GB colleagues to ensure our Federation is strong and respected. In the coming months, I plan to join the Division Zoom meetings so that I can talk with you about your work and aspirations. In the meantime, I wish you an enjoyable and rewarding Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Jaap Naber is our new treasurer, coming to us from Rotterdam Public Library, where he plays a crucial role in helping the institution to maximize its own impact and sustainability. Invaluable skills that he now brings to the benefit of IFLA. While he's great to be here, oh, he's there. Yeah, there you are. There he is, our new treasurer.
Well, first of all, I as well acknowledge my thanks for having the trust in me to take over this role of treasurer for the coming year. Being a treasurer, I realize finance is not always the most interesting thing for librarians. So when I look at the conference, the schedules, I think you should work and be able to concentrate on the impact you want to make on societies and not having to worry about financial stability, governance of the organization. So my intention in the coming year is very simple. I'm going to rebuild trustworthiness of everything we present to you, look at the stability of the financial foundation of the organization, and together with all the colleagues in the governing board, but not only in the governing board, with you as well, to work out a way to communicate better about where we stand and how we will be able to at least celebrate the centennial that's coming up. So, one, I want to reach out to many people in the field. What I want to do in the coming months is set up consultative meetings to find out what it is that you need in information, because I can send information, but I should also, there's a need for me to know what do you want to know? How far are you able to understand me? So the other thing is I'm going to work on workshops for finance, for non-financials, whatever you want to call it, but for you to better understand what IFLA is all about, why things are going the way they are going, so you can fully focus on the important library work and enjoy all the things that make impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaap. While it is great to be able to share some new faces, I know that there is one that a lot of you and me will be missing here today. That is Donna Shida, IFLA President 2015-2017, who very sadly passed away earlier this year. It is hard to think of anyone who had a warmer, more positive impact on so many people across the library field than Donna. Her presidential theme, a call to action, was more than a theme. It was something that she lived. Everywhere she went, everywhere where she served, including as member of IFLA sections, as governing board member, and ultimately as IFLA president, she shared her intelligence, her energy, her commitment to ensuring that libraries and library and information professionals were recognized and supported in order to fulfill their potential to make a difference. From the meeting rooms of the conference as this to the United Nations, she was a consistent and powerful voice for our profession, for our field. She had an immense loyalty to and belief in what IFLA stands for and could be, and played a crucial role in securing our future, a crucial positive legacy to the field. And, of course, to me personally, so she was a friend, and I will miss her sorely. Thank you, Donna. Please join me now in the minute of silence for Donna. Please get up. Thank you. You may sit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. President. Now, Ulrich from Beijing presenting another performance in Irish music. Languages also have their melody, especially when we don't understand them. Just listen now, the Chinese speech of our colleague from the National Library of China.
下面将要登台的是6位音乐家，他们将演奏小提琴、长笛、班卓琴、爱尔兰鼓、吉他和贝斯。同时，我们还将看到配套的歌舞表演。他们的表演风格呢，融入了爱尔兰传统音乐和凯尔特音乐的特点，所以在爱尔兰很受欢迎。下面请 Scheeder 乐队上台演出。
Scheeder. On the slide, something was wrong. You have seen the number 6, and I've counted them. They are 9. Sorry about that. Now I have the pleasure to introduce Marwa El-Sakhan from the wonderful library in Alexandria in Egypt. She will introduce our keynote speaker in Arabic.
كانت السيدة ماري روبنسون الرئيس السابع لأيرلندا في الفترة من 1990 إلى 1997 وهي تعتبر أول سيدة تنال هذا المنصب فكان ينظر إلى السيدة روبنسون على نطاق واسع حيث كان لها تأثير تغييري على تحويل أيرلندا لأنها قامت بحملات ناجحة ومؤثرة حول العديد من قضايا التحرر ولذا أصبحت أكثر رؤساء أيرلندا شعبية حيث حصلت على نسبة تأييد بلغت 93% بين الناخبين وبعد انتهاء فترة رئاستها أصبحت روبنسون مفوضة الأمم المتحدة السامية لحقوق الإنسان في الفترة من 1997 إلى 2002 ثم قامت بتأسيس مؤسسة ماري روبنسون للعدالة المناخية قبل وقت طويل من يوم الجمعة للمناخ من أجل المستقبل كما إن لديها العديد من الارتباطات الأخرى على سبيل المثال دورها في المعهد الدولي للبيئة والتنمية وهي أيضاً عضو مؤسس ورئيس مجلس قادة العالم النسائي. Please welcome Mary Robinson with us.
Good morning, bonjour, buenos dias, bon dia, jambo, give galer. I really like the way you value the diversity of languages at this Congress. And it's an honor to address this IFLA World Library and Information Congress 2022 on the challenge of climate change, the challenge of the climate crisis, rather. I also want to extend my own warm Céad Míle Fáilte. It was great to see the flash mob yesterday in front square of Trinity College and the reading of Ulysses in different languages. And we really like visitors like you. Welcome, welcome, 100,000 welcomes. I intend to challenge you because we're in a world of different crises, the worst of which is the climate crisis. But first, I want to evoke the spirit and personality of a dear friend who encouraged me to love libraries, Vartan Gregorian, who sadly passed away last year. Vartan had, of course, revived the New York Public Library, and as head of the Carnegie Foundation, he supported libraries around the world, following the example of Andrew Carnegie, with whom he identified very closely. Vartan also supported the Trinity College Library, and one of his last public events was a great conversation with its librarian, Helen Shenton. I often heard him speak of libraries as gateways to knowledge and culture. He would explain that the resources and services they offer create opportunities for learning, as the Armenian Church's library in Iran did for him as a 12-year-old boy. There's a particular phrase of Vartan's I love. Generosity has no expiry date. I'm glad to salute Vartan again on this special occasion. In preparing to challenge you all, I Googled the role of libraries in the 21st century. I liked this answer. The libraries of the 21st century provide a welcoming common space that encourages exploration, creation, and collaboration between students, teachers, and a broader community. They bring together the best of the physical and digital to create learning hubs. It was encouraging, in fact, to see that the evolving role of libraries and librarians in the 21st century is quite a hot topic, as it should be. And that's why I want to challenge you. Last week, at a climate conference in Berlin, Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the UN, warned, half of humanity is in the danger zone, from floods, droughts, extreme storms, and wildfires. No nation is immune, yet we continue to feed our fossil fuel addiction. We have a choice, collective action or collective suicide. It is in our hands. I'll come back to this question of choice, as I assume naturally that librarians are on the side of collective action. First, I want to emphasize that the climate crisis has not happened any other way. It is human-induced. And within that, there are serious injustices. I've identified at least 5 layers of injustice. Firstly, the injustice that the climate crisis has hit both earlier and more ferociously the poorest countries, the poorest communities, the small island states, the indigenous peoples. And of course, they are largely the black and brown and indigenous people of our world. So it's also a racial injustice. Secondly, within that, the gender injustice. Women have different social roles, have less power, sometimes have less rights, like land rights, and yet have to put food on the table, go further in drought for water, make their communities resilient. So the gender injustice. Thirdly, the intergenerational injustice. And thankfully, young climate activists have been calling us out on this, emphasizing the burden that they're going to have because we're not fulfilling our responsibility. They can't they're not in power, and they're calling on us to address this intergenerational injustice. Fourthly, very subtle but important injustice, the injustice of the different pathways to development of different regions of the world. Industrialized countries, we built our economies on fossil fuel. Our responsibility is to be grateful to the workers in coal and oil and gas, and in this country, peat, turf, who helped us to become modern, industrialized countries, and to make sure that we have a just transition away from fossil fuel as quickly as possible, but not leaving behind the communities and the workers who helped us to build our economies. That's the importance of the just transition. But what about developing countries? I remember, because I was the special envoy of the Secretary General before the Paris Climate Agreement, the way that so many developing countries in their nationally determined contributions said they wanted to go as green as possible, as quickly as possible, with clean energy. But we didn't help with the investment, with the transfer of technology, with the skills, with the possibilities for developing countries to go green more quickly. And therefore, they're caught in these many crises at the moment, the COVID crisis, the debt crisis, and the fact that they have suffered for much longer than the Northern Hemisphere from the climate crisis. And the fifth injustice is the injustice to nature herself, the terrible loss of biodiversity, the extinction of species, the reports that are coming out that we are not addressing, the fact that we are turning nature into possibly an enemy, nature being our greatest friend, the forests being the sinks, the ocean being a huge sink, and yet we are destroying their capacity to help us in our own survival. So I think being aware of the injustices encourages what I call a climate justice approach and strengthens the moral case for collective action. Climate scientists worldwide, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, have warned of how perilous the situation now is. We have to reduce carbon emissions by 45% by 2030 and reach zero carbon by 2050. At present, we're on course for a 2.7 degrees Celsius warming above pre-industrial standards, which would be catastrophic. 2030 is 7 years away next January. The time for gradual, incremental change is gone. We need to step up totally. I'm involved with various networks of women leaders and young people, young climate activists, in planning with an urgent moonshot mentality to build a climate justice movement for transformative action on climate. Now, here's my challenge to you all. I know many of you are already taking some action, but we all need to step up tenfold. What are the ways librarians can rise to the challenge and be part of the collective action that the Secretary-General was calling for to secure a sustainable future for people and planet? Interestingly, a leading climate scientist, Katharine Hayhoe, has identified a key problem. We don't talk about the climate crisis. We don't talk about it in our homes. We don't talk about it in our communities. We don't talk about it in our workplaces. We don't talk about it with our colleagues. In her book, Saving Us, she puts it this way: I'm convinced that the single most important thing that anyone, not just me, but literally anyone, can do to bring people together is, ironically, the very thing we fear most. Talk about it. Why are people not talking about something that matters to them so much? And actually, her book, Saving Us, is a very good example of how to have that conversation, because Katharine Hayhoe, who's Canadian, is based in Texas, in a university in Texas. I call it an oxymoron, I think, to be a Canadian based in Texas. But anyway, she does it very deliberately because she's talking to those who tend to be the deniers, who tend to not want to talk about it, and she has found the way to do it. And her book, Saving Us, is a great example of how to open up that conversation. So this is my challenge to libraries and librarians. Help us to encourage people to talk to each other more and more about the climate crisis. Your theme for this year seems perfect for this. Inspire, engage, enable, and connect. You know better than me how proactive you can be. How can you create an enabling environment to start this vital conversation? How can you inspire young people to be innovative? How can you use knowledge to motivate people? How can you encourage collective action for change? I'm very aware, as chair of the elders, that I fill quite heavy shoes. The first chair was my beloved friend, Archbishop Tutu, who died on Christmas Eve last year. And he was a wonderful voice for truth and hope. We have to bring hope into our world on this. I often tell the story of being with Arch, as he encouraged us to call him, at a conference in New York of young people called the Social Good Conference. They were all on their iPads and their phones, and this was about 15 years ago. And we were being moderated by an American journalist. And of course, when Arch gets in front of young people, he would throw up his arms, tell them how much he loved them, believed in them. And the moderator said quite sharply, Archbishop Tutu, why are you such an optimist? And he looked at her and he shook his head and he said, oh no, I'm not an optimist. I'm a prisoner of hope. In many ways, we all have to be now prisoners of hope in this very difficult world we find ourselves in, because hope brings energy. If you talk about the climate crisis in a way that is possible to do, as in a sense part of what the Secretary-General was saying was how serious it is. Are we going to choose collective suicide, he even said. We can make it very negative, or we can choose to be prisoners of hope and find the energy to be resilient. The word resilience has been used quite a bit. And that is, I think, what we really need, to work together and to do the impossible. The task may seem impossible, but it will work if every sector of society steps up in this way. And as chair of the elders, I'd like to conclude with a succinct phrase of our founder, Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it is done. It always seems impossible until it is done. Garamila Mahagiv. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Robinson, for your speech and your contribution to our event. Now my colleague Alicia Celes-Carrot from Valencia will announce the last part of our show. And she represents the 7th language of IFLA, Spanish.
Verdaderamente es un momento histórico. Excepto en los años de la Guerra Mundial, ha habido congreso de IFLA cada año. Hemos tenido que esperar 3 años para este momento. Hemos aprendido mucho de lo digital en la pandemia, pero sobre todo hemos echado de menos el contacto personal, el contacto con el otro. Ahora sí, nuestra presidenta, Bárbara Lison, abrirá oficialmente el Congreso 2022.
I'm still so impressed by the speech by Mary Robinson. Thank you very much. Prisoners of Hope. I think this is so important. Thank you so much. And so now, as we come to the end of the opening ceremony, it is time to mark the formal beginning of our conference. And so, once again, Lord Mayor of Dublin, Caroline Conroy, former President Robinson, members of the Irish National Committee and the IFLA Governing Board, IFLA members and volunteers, sponsors, supporters, partners, ladies and gentlemen, both of you here in the room and you are joining online. All those of you who have, through your work, over the last years made this conference possible. All those of you who will, through your advanced preparation, through your energy and contributions here over the next few days, make the conference a success. Who will, in line with our conference theme, inspire, engage, enable, and connect, who will celebrate our achievements, not least an exciting announcement about our Public Library Manifesto, the UNESCO IFLA Public Library Manifesto, and the 75th anniversary of our relations with UNESCO, as well as new key work around national bibliographies, parliamentary library and research services, and LIS education. Who will, as I mentioned earlier, give us the drive, the direction to move forward on the basis of shared commitment to building a positive, sustainable future as we move towards to IFLA's centenarity just in 5 years' time. I want to thank you for this commitment, for your commitment, and to wish you an excellent, fruitful, inspiring time here in Dublin, Ireland. You are IFLA, we all are IFLA. With these words, I declare the 87th World Library and Information Congress open.
Thank you, Ms. President. Many thanks also to all those who made this Congress possible. This applies in particular to the National Committee, and I would especially like to thank my staff of IFLA headquarters and Conference Officer Marie-Emmanuelle Marot and her assistant and supporting Christine Paberza as main responsible for this opening ceremony and the Congress. Also thanks to exhibitors and sponsors and to my Masters of Ceremony. Special thanks to the technical and organizational staff of KIT, to all who supported the idea of this multilingual presentation today. Thank you also to all of you who are participating in our Congress. Thank you. I wish you now let you inspire, engage yourself, and enable that you connect with most of the 2017 participants, delegates, and staff. They are part of our Congress. And our, not the band, but the dancers will now lead you out of this auditorium to the exhibition opening, and I wish you that they have the mood, that you have now the mood for this Congress and for the days to come. Shin Ader Shi.